Today, I got a prison story coming your way about some gang activity that took place in the cell I was living in. But first, before we get into the story, if you're new to the channel, don't forget to hit that like, subscribe, notification bell if you enjoy, and check out the playlist with over 1,000 more of these puppies for you to start watching today. So, first things first, if you happen to be taking that long road to the state penitentiary, you're gonna probably, I'd say 90% chance be housed with a gang member. And you might see some things that you probably shouldn't be seeing, but you know, prison's a small place, there ain't that much privacy, and sometimes you're just right in front of the action. Or in my case, living in the cell with the action, but it's not gonna go down like you might think. First off, I'm in a medium high level prison with a little bit of structure. You know, this is where stuff starts getting real serious. As a matter of fact, this prison was known for its violence and gang activity. But it was a 2-tier pod or cell block, whatever you like to call it, something along the lines of that you would see on 60 Days In. 2-man cells with a staircase going up to the top tier directly in the center that goes up, and then it splits 2 ways. It doesn't go all the way around. So I'm coming into the cell block for the first time, and my first cellmate, I had 3 cellmates in this block. It can change up frequently sometimes. It's not always you get in there and you're stuck with the guy for 2-3 years. A lot of times in prison, if you just ask the counselor to be moved to another cell with someone that you might get along with and the bunk is open, they'll move you. You gotta understand, there's people in this prison doing life bids. So they're gonna try to accommodate people's living conditions if it's gonna make it more peaceful. But anyways, I come into the cell block and, you know, I get to know this guy. He seems pretty cool. He seems a little crazy, but cool at the same time. He deals with a little bit of principle, not too wild. And I find out within that day, because, you know, it seems like gang members, especially if they get a cellmate that, you know, they're a little unsure of, they're going to call their homies in there and they're going to kind of range things out a bit. Plus, I could tell, you know, when you come in, if you are housed with a gang member, they're going to be looking at your tattoos, asking you questions and stuff like that. Instead of saying, hey, what's your name? Where are you from? First thing, smoking. What's those tattoos? So after I told him I just like a bunch of tattoos, I'm not a part of any organization, I'm lone wolfing it out, everything became really copacetic, right? And that's when everything started opening up. He would have his homeboys come in there and, you know, they would do their little handshakes and stuff. And I feel like they were showboating half the time. Like I said, you know, a new guy comes into the cell block. Guys, believe it or not, like to show off. It's weird, but they do, man. You know, it's like claiming dominance or something. Now, even though everything's running pretty smooth, I still know that I'm being housed with someone that's a part of a gang. So I'm on my P's and Q's a bit. And I'm not going to lie, like I said, I was in a cell with the action, man. It seemed like everything that had to been taken care of, if like my cellie, he had the pool and the pod at the moment. It changed very quickly though, and I'll get to that. Everyone came to him with the issue. If there was something that had to been settled, some kind of fight, it would go down in our cell. Violations, robbing, taking something from someone, or just beating someone up for some reason they got going on. It would go on in my cell. At least they had the respect to let me know. Let's say I was in there listening to my radio or doing some artwork, writing a letter or something, you know, my cellie or one of his homeboys would come in, let me know, hey bro, can you step out for a second? They would never do the fighting and stuff with me in the cell. And this cell, they had a window with nothing in it. So you would have to put a pillow in the window to kind of block the view of the COs, maybe doing rounds to look in. But these pillows were so old that they didn't really block the whole window. They would sag down. You could see like 6 inches through the top part of the window. So they were always coming into the cell, but I knew that they were going to be fighting someone or something was about to be getting taken care of. Some kind of violence or action was about to go down. So I had this little spot up on the top of the tier in the corner where I could look down. I could sit on the top step and I could look into my cell with that 6-inch gap where the pillow was sag. And I could see pretty much everything, right? And I seen a lot. Told a few stories already on this channel, but I haven't told a story about this guy, Big Country. Looked like he was fed cornbread instead of milk when he was a baby, size of a John Deere tractor, from the outskirts farmlands of Emporia, Virginia. That's right, he was a pretty cool cat though, until he became a gang member. Crazy, man, because this dude's as country as it gets, but he had wild tattoos as well, in places you could see. You know, he had his eyelids tattooed. I don't know what it said on them, but spiderweb on his ear, lightning bolts on his face, and teardrops on the other side. And the lightning bolts, we're going to get to that in a second. See, Virginia's funny, man. I learned real quick that, especially a lot of white guys, man, they'll be claiming some fake stuff. But that's besides the point. This guy wasn't saying that he was claiming anything, but for some reason, he had lightning bolts on his face. And a lot of you already know, out west, them bolts mean something entirely different. You got to put in some work to get them puppies. At least from what I heard. But we'll get back to the tattoo. Let me finish painting this picture. Like I said, he was built like a tractor. This dude was massive, right? He wasn't muscular. He was just thick, man. Like, he was big. And to be completely honest, you know what reminded me of this story was watching a street beef fight the other day on YouTube channel Street Beefs. A guy turned out to jump, I think it was Scarface's son. Scarface is the guy that runs Street Beefs, right? But I believe his son got jumped. And he sent a message to the guys that jumped him, hey, come to the gym, let's box it out one-on-one. And only one of the guys showed up, but he was a big, looked like a cornbread fed white guy, right? And he didn't get knocked out, man. He fought all these guys, and they were throwing some haymakers, man. Anyways, it was pretty wild to see, because it was kind of like a prison style get back inside of a legal ring. But the guy had heart, right? And he didn't fall down, and it definitely reminded me of Big Country. But me and Big Country, man, somehow we ended up clicking. I don't even know how we introduced each other first, but he ended up, tattooing with me and two other white guys. We were all tattooing, this, that, and the third, gambling, drinking coffee, having a blast, right? But one day, another white guy came in, and he happened to have been a part of the gang that my cellmate's a part of. But he's cool as hell, too, so we all started chilling, and the only difference here is he's a part of an organization and we ain't. Now, Big Country, he really gets a liking to this individual. You could tell he's trying to become what he is. He wants that same type of juice, man, So shortly after Homeboy comes into the cell block, I guess, they talk it out and figure out that Big Country, is about to become a gang member. But the first thing he had to do, they said, were to cover up his lightning bolts, right? So what did he cover it up with? He covered it up with a slice of pizza. This was like around the time where Gucci Mane got the ice cream cone on his face, right? So I guess, pizza, throw a pizza slice up there, it'll fit right in. And it just fit perfectly, the triangle that it did. It was just a perfect fit. He said he loved pizza. It was his favorite food. Why not? I guess, but he also had teardrops as well. And, they didn't say anything about the teardrops. I'm guessing they just meant something else. There's different meanings to them things. Now, this varies from state to state, cell block to cell block, man. How people become a gang member, initiations. It could be a wide variety of different ways. I've seen some people, they call it being blessed in, where they don't have to do nothing. Homeboy just says, hey, you're in, buddy. I don't know. That's just what I've seen, okay? It's just what I've seen. I've seen times where guys have to take blows to the chest and not fight back. And I've seen guys have to, fight 3 or 4 at one time. Not to mention, you also had to learn some stuff, right? I guess you could call it literature, history of the organization, whatever. I'm not going to go into details about that, but yeah, you had to learn some stuff. And it was quite a bit that they got Big Country to have to learn in a certain amount of time. And I'll never forget, man. It was like he just joined high school all over again. We were playing cards, and he had to get up. Man, it was a great game, and he had to get up. He said, man, I got to go study, man. Study, or else he's going to get his ass whooped, right? Because that's what happens. If he don't learn what he's got to learn for that gang, by the time that they give him to learn it, then they're going to stomp him out, and chances are he won't even be a part of it. So that's where the story's going to come into play. Everything was going good for Big Country, but that was the issue. Big Country was a big idiot. He couldn't memorize or learn none of this stuff, man. He's having a hard time. Now, while all this is going on, another guy came into the cell block that happened to have taken the authority position from my cellmate. He ain't got the juice no more. So, as this guy, he picked the worst time to become a part of this organization, right? Because this guy that came in, he wasn't about no respect. It looked more along the lines of he was about the, seeing other people do evil just as much as the amount of evil he likes to be done. We're all going to be evil because I'm evil type of guy. Believe it or not, there's individuals or leaders like that, man, that you hope and pray aren't the type individual that's coming into the cell block. because he's going to change the script on everything. No mercy. But this wasn't one of those no mercy guys. He still dealt with a little bit of principle, but he was definitely a little more on the angrier side than my Celly. Honestly, I think he had something against white guys joining up in this organization, but you know, there's already a few white guys there that were doing that, not in that cell block except for that one, but a few guys that were well known, a part of that group that were white. But even so, it doesn't matter. Some guys don't like the fact that there's white guys a part of it, even though they are a part of it legitimately. It's crazy, but it happens, even out here in the streets. Now, like I said, homeboy just couldn't learn his stuff on time, so he had to go in the cell, right? And the cell that they were still doing all the work in was my cell. That didn't change up. I left the cell, they put the pillow in, like I said. Okay, I'm back in the corner of the staircase, and I'm looking in the cell being nosy, and you can see Big Country, there's 3 other guys in the cell. Big Country's up on the shampoo rack, because the shampoo rack's about as level up to him, which is, I have to reach up to grab, but his head's up there, so he's balled up like this, and his arms are like the size of my leg. They're hitting him across his head and body, but they ain't really doing nothing, right? So finally they finish it up and he comes out the cell. And the way that I found out about all this is my cellmate told me, right? Like I said, man, sometimes guys, when they get comfortable around you, man, they'll open up. And plus, it's gossip central in prison, man. You know, word gets around even if you're not a part of no kind of group. Now, this is where the tattoo thing comes into play, right? Homeboy that has all the power now, he's saying that Big Country wasn't harmed enough. He doesn't even have a mark on him. He said he wants him to go back in the cell this time because they were complaining about his size and they couldn't really reach. They said this time you got to get down on your knees. That Big Country idiot got on his knees and took a ass whooping like I never seen. And when he came out that time, they made sure that there were some marks on him, but the for sure mark on him was his pizza slice. It became an extra large. It was a Pizza Hut slice, and then it became a New York jank. I said, damn, Big Country, they put a little working on you, didn't they, buddy? Nah, I didn't joke around like that too much once a new guy came in, but I was joking him a little bit on the low in the cut. But just to end it on a good note, even though it's not really good, 'cause I don't think you should be joining any gangs to begin with, but he had to have learned all of his stuff on time because he didn't have no more issues after that. He was walking around with the pride like a lion. But I will end it like this, ladies and gentlemen, even though you might have gotten some laughs. I mean, like I said, this was a very scary situation for a big individual. But stay tuned. Y'all know I got plenty more content coming your way. I think the next video is going to be a decent courtroom analysis.